Our edit button right now makes the content editable, and then if we click it a second time, makes it no longer editable. But we don't update the array when we change the content. So if we replace GFDS with bad boys, and then have a look at our array, we still see GFDS. So when do we want the change to occur? When we make it no longer editable, right? So if we click the button and it's presently editable, we make it no longer editable, and then we want to save our changes. So how can we do that? Well, we already have the flick, right? And this is the item in the array. And making a change to that will actually update the array, because objects are always passed by reference. So we can just change flick.name to what, though? Even when it's editable, this is still not an input, so it doesn't have a value like inputs do. Instead, the thing we're editing is the text content. So the name field, again, is the span that we made editable. So if I set flick.name to name field.text content, it seems like that would do it. App.flicks, square bracket 0. Yep, it changed. Easy one-line fix. Da-da-da. Uh-oh. Oh, well, what happens when if I hit enter? Ah, cuss. Find another one here. Let's change this to bad boys. Enter. Oh, man. Enter doesn't do what I want it to do. Unacceptable user experience. Let's fix it. As you might guess, pressing a key on the keyboard is an event that you can listen for. So let's do it. So where are we pressing the keyboard key? We're doing it while this span is focused. So that's the element on which we want to listen for that event. Not just clicking it anywhere on the page, but specifically clicking it inside the span. So let's add an appropriate event listener. Down in render list item, we already grabbed the span here because we set its text content to the flick name. The inverse of what we just did. So since we're going to also add an event listener to it, we're going to go ahead and save the name span to a variable so we don't have to query selector it twice. Name span equals item.query selector flick name. And then name span dot text content and name span dot add event listener. And the event this time is not just a click, it's a keyboard event. And there are several of those. One of them is called key press, and I think that will do. And I want it to call a method called save on enter, I think. This dot save on enter, because that's what it's going to do. And we may as well go ahead and bind this, I suppose. And I'm pretty sure we're going to want the flick in there too. Okay, so the key press is the event, and we're going to write a method called save on enter. So let's make it. Save on enter receives the flick as an argument, and it has an event. Don't forget your comma. Let's look at that event real quick, because this is a different kind of event than we've had before. Tappity tappity. Now, when does the event fire? When I hit a key inside this field. There it is. Keyboard event. The key is capital E enter. The code is capital E enter. And it tells us some other things too. So that's a keyboard event type. Let's look up keyboard events on MDN. DOM keyboard event. Here we go, keyboard event on MDN, the Mozilla Developer Network. Describe a user interaction with the keyboard. The event type, key down, key press, or key up. Key press is the one we used. Okay. Properties, alt key, character. Turns a DOM string representing the character value of the key. This has been dropped. Don't use this anymore. Character code has been deprecated. You should use keyboard event.key instead if available. So keyboard event key. Read-only property returns the value of a key or keys pressed by the user. We saw that, right? Key was enter. A full list of key values. So these are reliable. You can check for one of these and be pretty sure that that's what the browser is going to return if that key is pressed. We saw for enter that it was capital E enter. So that's what we'll look for, because we don't want to necessarily do anything if they press a different key, right? So inside save on enter, naturally we need to make sure that it was the enter key that they pressed. So if event.key, right, this right here, triple equals capital E enter, then what? Well, then we want to do the same thing we would do if we click the button, right? Which is call edit flick. Since we call edit flick when it's already editable, it'll make it not editable anymore. So edit flick could perhaps be better called toggle editable. That's more accurate. Toggle editable. Let's change our event listener accordingly. Toggle editable. Now that we've given this method a better name, toggle editable, which is what it's really doing, if the enter key is pressed, we will call this dot toggle editable, and it expects the flick. It expects the list item now, which we didn't pass in here, but we can. Why not? Pass in the flick. Passed in, it's called item in here, right? Not list item. So then save on enter. We'll just pass it on. Remember, anything that you put inside bind will be passed as the first arguments. The event itself will be passed as the last argument. Now, toggle editable also receives an event. But it wants the current target of that event. And that's not going to be the target of this event, is it? So we might have to get the button another way. No big deal, we can do that. So we already have the list item, right? So if we already have the list item, the button would be list item dot query selector button with a class of edit, right? Button dot edit. It's the only one. The only edit button inside that one list item, right? So does this work? Let's see. Click edit. Okay, it still seems to find everything, so that works. We didn't break toggle editable. But does our enter thing work? Let's go to the end. Let's press enter. It's no longer editable. It works. Excellent. Make our actual change. Press enter. No longer editable. Did it save our changes? app.flicks. Square bracket 0. Transformers. Yay, we did it. Piece of cake.